You know, some shows just have terrible people as their main leads, and really, that's okay. I mean, it's not okay if you're supposed to sympathize with the characters and think they're good, in which case they're just badly written, but what I'm talking about is a series where the entire point is that the leads we follow aren't good people. The Ed, Edd n Eddies, the Rick and Mortys, the Seinfelds, the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia's, all of these shows make it a point to say that the people we follow throughout the runtime aren't exactly the best people to be around. Hell, usually they're trying to think up a new scam or have trouble harboring their hatred for characters that ultimately haven't really done that much to them. And you might wonder to yourself, what makes those kind of shows entertaining? Are we all just terrible people that nervously like to laugh to hide the fact that we know we're the same? Well, that's more of a fact than an opinion, but no. A large reason we laugh at the antics of these characters is not only that they do such terrible stuff it becomes enjoyable off the absurdity alone, but we also laugh because we know that other people around will react in an entertaining way. All these shows have supporting casts that do not like the main characters, or maybe even outright hate them. They ridicule the actions of the main leads, don't go along with what they're doing, and in the end, provide a reaction to represent the audience and exaggerate it to comedic effect. Edgy shit on its own isn't funny because there's no punchline, it's just shock for the sake of shock. If that edgy content has a negative reaction by the characters in the show, however, it can lead to some amazing interactions and exchanges between characters with completely different views on what's going on, and the absurdity of it all is brought out much more for the viewers to laugh at. With that in mind, I think one of the best shows to not only implement this comedy trope, but also subvert and creatively use it to great effect in its long run is none other than South Park. For anyone that doesn't know, South Park is an adult animated series created by Trey Parker and Matt Stone about 4 elementary school boys named Eric, Kyle, Stan, and Kenny going on crazy mature adventures and dealing with other random issues in their hometown of South Park, Colorado. As far as adult animated series go, it's known for its paper cutout art style, insane plots, and large array of characters with exaggerated personalities to represent and commentate on different aspects of American culture. What makes their usage of the bad main characters archetype all the more stand out among the other shows I listed is that, for one thing, it's a gradual process. South Park doesn't immediately make you think all 4 boys are less than fun to be around, only Eric Cartman, who's seen as the resident asshole. It's only through watching the boys continually as the series progresses that we notice none of them are all that stand out when it comes to morality, though Cartman does still take it to the next extreme. That standard isn't restricted to them either. Almost no one in the South Park area is exempt from being called an absolute douche. Sure, there are those who are more virtuous than others, and that can reflect in how they interact with each other alongside their drastically different personalities, but very few among them can be considered truly quote-unquote normal. That's where the importance of the straight man comes in. Amongst all the craziness of characters that cause chaos or commit horrible acts on a consistent basis, there have to be people that react like normal humans to balance it out. Having other bad or stupid characters react in a positive way to that craziness can also be just as funny, but it needs to have at least one regular person in there to make the joke have all the more weight to it. In most instances, for South Park, these characters would be Kyle or Stan, who sort of acted as a barrier to Cartman's bullshit so he could never get a good ending for whatever fucked up plan he came up with for the week. This still occurs quite often as a dynamic, but as the years have gone on, more often, Stan and Kyle have just as casually gotten into fights with one another over the same type of shit, and in many instances have been shown to be in the wrong almost as much as Cartman has on occasion. Unlike a lot of other shows that would do this without realizing and tank character relationships though, Trey and Matt have not only kept a good balance between when Kyle or Stan play the straight man to Cartman, each other, or somebody else, but when the gang acts as a group, they have other characters lined up to act as straight men when necessary. Some of the most prevalent characters in this regard have been Tweek, Craig, Clyde, and Token, who aren't afraid to call the main cast out on their actions for what they are, readily saying the guys are dipshits that no one else at the school really likes because of all they get into. That's not the only type of straight man the show has either. Sometimes the straight man isn't just a single person, and can even be the whole gang reacting to something they weren't ready for as young kids. And trust me, that happens a lot. All the examples I'd mentioned up to this point have been characters who can be straight men though. I haven't really brought up a character who reacts to everything the rest of the cast does that differs from the norm of the world and provides a more realistic perspective on a consistent basis. And as the show becomes more and more outlandish, with a majority of the cast becoming more and more cynically assholish, that one consistent voice for reactions becomes all the more important. And thankfully, South Park has just that type of role fulfilled by the character named Butters Stotch. Butters is your typical 3rd to 5th grader. He's optimistic, naive, and doesn't really understand much of what's going on around him, but goes along with it anyway to try fitting in. Overall, he's just a friendly kid that never holds that much genuine malice in his heart for others, no matter how bad they are to him. The worst he's ever done with his anger without being tricked by someone else is dress up like a supervillain and switch people's orders at restaurants or steal erasers. Unlike the other 4 boys we follow, he isn't cynical or disillusioned with the world in any way to make him want to act sarcastic or mean. And of course, that leads to the cast taking advantage of him. Mostly just Cartman, who takes any opportunity to mess with or get Butters to do dirty work for him, making for some funny scenarios along the way. Similarly, every other character Butters interacts with has a different approach to talking with him because he's just so stand out from the rest of the cast. Some are condescending, others pity him, some commonly misconstrue what he means, but whatever the reaction, he takes it in stride and tries to move forward for himself. It can actually have a major effect on the rest of a plot's episode because Butters doesn't do things the same way you'd expect the rest of the gang would. In a situation where Cartman might kill a kid's family and make him eat their bodies in chili while the kid's favorite band watches him cry, Butters would choose to either not think about it or just live and let live. This can be best exemplified when he's being picked on by his grandmother, and the stress leads him to actually attack someone for the first time to see what it feels like. But afterwards, he regrets it, and comes to understand just how hollow that feeling of beating someone up really is. It reinforces his desire to not be violent with others when possible, and he gains a new perspective on his abusive grandma as just another hollow person. Someone that'll live and die as a bully without ever having a fulfilling life, and if he wants to do the opposite, Butters knows that a life of bullying won't be for him. His interactions are purely unique and necessary because they lack any room for cynicism. None of what Butters does is for a grand ulterior motive or to satiate some selfish desire. He almost always just helps people because he wants to, and that's one of the things that makes him so necessary to the series. On the comedy side, Butters' naivety is probably one of the funniest running jokes of the show. The other kids also have innocence to them that gets ruined when they aren't expecting it, but Butters takes it to a whole nother level because traumatic shit just seems to follow him everywhere. Once he accidentally caused the death of several people in a gory fashion while trying to tap dance. And when he gets the courage to try to do it again, you know, that whole trope of getting over a traumatic experience, the same shit happens. When he wants to watch Lord of the Rings, he gets a dwarf porn video that makes him act like Gollum wanting to see more. He's constantly surrounded by gore, perversion, and trauma to potentially turn him into the most troubled kid imaginable, yet he keeps at least part of it together by sheer ignorance. In the first episode solely focusing on him, he finds his dad is watching pornos and going to gay bathhouses, leading to his mom wanting to kill Butters by sinking her car in the river. When it doesn't sink and Butters has to make his way back home, however, he never really thinks about why his mom did that in the first place, and doesn't even grasp what happened until it's blatantly spelled out for him at the end of the episode. Butters just doesn't have the capacity to think negatively of a person's intentions because he was raised in a super conservative household with terrible parents that would ground him for the smallest thing, and chose to deflect from real life lessons rather than teach them to him, leading to episodes like Sarcastiball, where Butters accidentally believes his jizz is a small bit of happiness from inside him that he starts selling like it's a sports drink, or Margarine, where he fakes his death without realizing how his family might react when he decides to come back later. It's that pure lack of awareness that keeps Butters fresh among the other characters on South Park, and ironically enough, it also makes the scenes where he's serious or heartfelt come off more impactful. Butters' view of not only the world, but how someone should go about living are completely different from most of the cast. In a way, he acts like a reflection of the other characters in a purer sense that helps them see the error of their ways. Whenever one of the crew members gets into some kind of situation that changes them drastically as people, that's usually where Butters comes in with a different but also highly similar B-plot. While he's generally a goofball and doesn't take things he doesn't understand with too much seriousness, when he does understand a concept and wants to share it with others, he doesn't feel bad or regretful about doing so because he's genuine about it, leading to him delivering the most poignant, profound shit in a show full of laughs and dark humor. Granted, half the time he learns that lesson, it's from him getting out of a scenario he didn't fully understand in the first place, but it doesn't make whatever he's saying any less deep. For example, at one point, Butters thinks a girl likes him when she really only wants to get money from him. So after he hears her say that they were never boyfriend and girlfriend, he thinks it's a breakup and goes to cry. On the opposite end of the spectrum, Stan has just been dumped and doesn't know how to go about handling it. So he hangs out with the goth kids and starts believing life sucks, but Butters is able to change how he feels with only a few words. Whereas Stan fell into a cynical mindset with so much jealousy and confusion clouding his thoughts, Butters' head was clear from the start, so he felt no shame showing his emotions about thinking he was dumped because it made him appreciate life all the more. Knowing for him to have felt so sad in the first place, he had to have felt just as good at another time. He believes he and everyone else needs to take the good with the bad to know true happiness, so Butters is comfortable with who he is and how he reacts to something that makes him feel sad. And I think that's the most easily described indescribable aspect about why Butters is, in my opinion, the most important South Park character. No matter what the setting he's placed in, no matter how much he doesn't truly understand what's going on, no matter how unlikely his wisdom would seemingly help others that need it, Butters provides not only a funny perspective of a naive child that doesn't know better when fucked up shit happens around him, but he also provides the type of lessons no other character could properly address without feeling forced. South Park has never been the type of show to come off as preachy, actively mocking itself on multiple occasions about not having any type of lesson at the end of the day because it would be cheesy. But Butters, as a little kid, is able to deliver those messages with such maturity and impactfulness to the viewer that you don't even get the thought that it might be condescending. Through Butters, the show is able to convey a mature theme in a simple way that anyone can understand while speaking on the level of everyone watching. Butters doesn't need to pretend like he's learned some unknown truth or has changed drastically as a person. At the end of the day, he's written to be the same as he ever was. All Butters does is show what he already thinks to others who might need it after he's had a bad experience to remind him why that lesson is so important. You can't really point to any character with that same consistency over the years in South Park. Not Kyle, not Stan, not anyone else in the series, even fucking Jesus. The level of intricate writing done for Butters as a character should be just as appreciated as the character himself. And though he isn't always the main focus of the series by any means, I do think he should be applauded as one of the shining examples for what the series can do on a deeper level, both on a comedic and heartfelt level. Too many series miss a character like Butters in their world to act as the purity among a setting of sarcasm to not only call out what the other characters are doing to comedic effect, but to give another perspective no one else in the series can provide. It's honestly quite special in that way, and I hope you can see what I mean after all I've discussed in this video. With that, I'll go ahead and wish you all a good day, night, or whenever you happen to be watching this. I don't know, I'm not a temporal wizard that can predict every viewer of this video's exact time of watching, but anyway, hope you enjoyed it. See you all in the next one. Peace.